I always try to provide turtle keepers with the best, most recent and scientifically proven information, but I never actually had to build an indoor habitat since most of my turtles were housed outside. This is why I set out to build an ideal habitat for aquatic turtle, a surface-mounted pond. Inside. This is a complete, detailed guide through every step so that you can easily replicate my work, improve upon it, and scale it up if needed. Enjoy the build! I started out from an 18mm thick large Tego plywood sheet that I've cut into the proper shape and size, and here you can see my dimensions for the future aquaterrarium. We are going to start building up from the base, and here you can see the positioning of the wheels. Now the reason the whole thing will be on wheels is because air needs to circulate beneath it, and I want it to be mobile enough so I can move it whenever I need to clean underneath or I need to do various maintenance stuff like cabling behind it, replacing bulbs, filter tubes and whatever. Now, as if you saw the Tego terrarium build, you know that Tego plywood is really good in humid conditions, so that's why I've chosen it as a raw material for the aqua terrarium.
Now for where the sides will meet, we are okay on this side, but on this side we have these sharp angles. So as you can see, the pieces of Tego wood won't fit good. I've cut this side here at an angle and it isn't perfect, but it doesn't have to be. I cut it with a vertical saw by hand since I don't have an angled circular saw. And to make things easier, I decided to not cut this also at an angle so they would match perfectly, and instead I'm gonna fill this void here with wood sealant. But remember, everything will be masked with wooden paneling, so it won't be visible at all. And on the inside we still have a good match, and here I will apply layers of hydro insulation, so we're gonna be good with minimal effort. So I started building out the Tego box and fixing the sides with metal L corners, but I did a shitty job at cutting the sheets to the proper length and at the proper angle, because I don't really have the necessary tools for this and I did it by hand. But it's not a big deal since here is gonna be only 15 centimeters of soil, so I will fill this space here up with expanding foam and then I'll start hydro insulating the whole thing.
I just use regular expanding foam and applied a layer of wood sealant on top of it, just to make sure that everything fits and holds its shape and stays in place.
I'm now gonna apply the silicone at the interface between the wood sheets, and technically it won't be everywhere since I have these L corners and underneath there won't be any silicone, but it doesn't matter since it's a stable interface and the hydro insulation layers will come on top. So we only need to fill the exposed corners with silicone. I'm using the Ceresit FT101. It's a polymerizing silicone that's meant for outside use, and I've already had experience with it when building the Tego enclosure, and I can tell you it's great for sealing stuff that will be more humid and exposed to tougher conditions. So just apply a thick layer and then we're gonna uniformly spread it around using our finger. Good. Now simply use gloves when working with silicone and spread your thick layer around. Try to cover as many cracks as you can. This will provide a better interface here between the sheets for the next hydroinsulating layers. Now you can also use some arming bands for the hydroinsulation layers, as I will show you later, but I couldn't find them available at this moment, so I will stick to only using silicone and hydroinsulation. That's it for now. We're gonna have to wait for everything to cure, and after that we can apply our hydroinsulation.
The back pieces of the terrarium will be held in place with a strong adhesive called Mammut from Bostik. This portion will support a UVB tube necessary for my turtle. Of course, it's also better to screw everything in place so everything is nice and stable and doesn't break in time.
Now that the general structure of our terrarium is finished, we can hydroinsulate the inside of the terrarium that will accommodate the pond foil, water and soil with plants. We are gonna start by applying 5 layers of rubber-based sealant from Bison, which is non-toxic and ideal for terrariums. And on top of it, we're gonna coat another 3 layers of epoxy resin. I've ended up applying 6 layers of rubber-based hydroinsulation from Bison, and 3 layers of epoxy resin will follow, which should keep everything waterproof even if there is a leak in the future pond foil that I will be applying. In parallel, I'll be working on decorating the outside with wooden paneling. This is the same wooden paneling I use for my Tegu terrarium, and that way the aqua terrarium will fit and integrate nicely alongside my huge Tegu terrarium. I will be using this 3D wooden paneling from Kronospan called Rusty Barnwood. I just have to cut it in place and after that fit the skirtings on the corners to mask any imperfections. Okay, let's get going.
When working with epoxy resin, always respect the proportions indicated on the label so that it dries evenly without bubbles. That's why I'm using a scale to measure everything. Remember to use protection equipment when applying your epoxy coating, since the vapors are toxic. Use a mask, goggles and gloves.
Now, in order to save some money, the first wooden paneling layer is gonna be fixed with screws on this side of the aquaterrarium that won't actually be visible and will stick to the tegu terrarium. For the others, I have a different plan. So this is what you're gonna need: a wooden drill, a drill for concrete, a wooden screw, and of course your bit for screwing the screw on. I've chosen to poke my hole at 8 centimeters, so that's what we're gonna do. And in order to have a nice smooth looking screw there, we're gonna drill a little hole for the head of the screw using the concrete bit. Okay, seems to be good. And now we're gonna screw the wooden paneling on. And now it looks nice and smooth. And the head is masked in the panel. Now, as you can see, the wooden paneling is not sitting right on the floor, because there needs to be some air circulating around your terrarium so you avoid mold. That's why I had this spare wooden part, decorating part from the kitchen furniture, and it was perfect as a gap support for my wooden paneling. It's the same one I use for my tegu terrarium, so the gap will be the same, and when they stick one next to the other, the gap will be the same, and the level of the wooden panels will be the same and look nice. Now, normally these kind of wooden panelings have this special claws that you mount on and support your panels, but we're gonna have only 2 layers, and the second layer of wooden paneling actually comes over the edge here, because we'll have another profile that will support our glass. So the claws would come here and hold the other layer in place, but we don't have any support here. So I'm just gonna employ the same method and screw it directly on to the Tego sheets. It won't look that bad and the screws will be barely visible. To fix the other wooden panels in place, I'll be using magnets in a similar fashion to how visiting doors are made for various installations. I found these neodymium magnets, 25 millimeters in diameter, with a hole in the middle through which I can put a screw. And I'll be using this milling cutter, also 25 millimeters in diameter, to poke a hole and hide my magnet inside the Tego sheets. The panel will have this 25 millimeter washer, and this will hold the panel in place alongside with the magnet, so that I can have easy access to the underside of the aquaterrarium, where I plan to hide all the wiring and the sockets. Okay. Let's do this side first.
Now, because I didn't really trust the tiny screw to hold the magnet in place, I also ended up applying a layer of mammoth adhesive to firmly hold the magnet in place. Next, I simply measured the approximate location of where the magnet was projecting onto the panel and fixed the washers in place where the magnet would stick to.
Okay, time to see if our system works. The panels are in place and it sticks there nicely, and when I want to get it out, I just slide it down and take it away. Next, we are going to separate the water area from the dry area, and for that I have cut another piece of Tego wood in between the two areas, and afterwards we're gonna fix in place a layer of geotextile. You see here, it's a double layered one for extra protection, and afterwards we're gonna fix the pond foil in place so that we can get to the next stage of our project.
I used the same coatings of rubber sealant from Bison and epoxy resin. After that, the piece is glued on using the Mammoth adhesive from Bostik, since I can't use screws to fix it in place because the hydro-insulating layers are beneath it and I would compromise them if I do this. But the piece will also be held firmly in place by the soil on one side and the water on the other side.
Now, before I can fix the geotextile and the pond foil in place, I have to fix these glass profiles. I've already cut them to the proper length and shape, and next we're gonna drill some holes in them so they will stick firmly to the sides. After that, we can secure the pond foil and the geotextile on the outside here, and these glass profiles will help us to do that. These profiles also have this space here where I will be inserting an LED bar so that the glass will be nicely illuminated for a more aesthetic look.
Place the double layer geotextile on my aqua terrarium and measured how big it should be and cut it then to proper size. This will ensure another protection layer all throughout the surface. As you can see, black duct tape is your friend to fix everything in place temporarily, since the final fixing will be done by the profiles that will come on top, the foil and the soil. In the next episode, we're gonna work on fixing the pond foil in place, finishing the paneling, starting to mount our equipment and actually breathing life into the whole thing.